Okay, guys, let's get started. So in the last class, we were talking about the different ranges of each class of IPs, class A, B, C, D, and E. Today, I'll be explaining what the relevances of each of those classes. Okay, so these were the ranges that I discussed with you all yesterday. Now I'll do a small exercise on those same ranges itself. I'll write down some random IPs and I want you to tell me which IP belongs to which class and whether it's a public or a private IP by looking at this table here. Okay. So let me quickly write down some IPs first. Just give me a second. Okay. చెప్పండి. జాయిన్ అవ్వలేదు సెషన్ తీసుకుంటున్నాను కదా ఆల్రెడీ ఉన్నారు కదా మాస్టర్ గా ఉపేంద్ర ఎవరెవరు ఉంది కదా Stella, can you hear me? I'm here in the session. Hello. Okay. So, right. Okay. So I've written down some random IPs over here, guys. What I want you to do is look at this table over here. And from this table, give me the answers for each of these IPs now. Let me know whether these IPs are public IPs or private IPs and whether which class they belong to as well. Okay. So let me give you the answer for the first two ones. Sorry, Stella. Yes, Stella, I can hear you. Yeah. Yes, Stella, I can hear you. Am I audible? Upendra, you can hear me, right? Is there any issue with my audio on the link? Okay, perfect. Stella, I hope you can hear me as well. Okay, assume you can. Coming back to this, so as mentioned. So let me give you the answers for the first few ones, guys. So looking at the first IP here, 10.11.12.13. Okay, so yes, no, it's not public, but we'll come to the class first. So right, it's private. Okay, so when you look at the first, Right. So when you look at this first octet 10 here, this is falling between 0 and 127, right? So therefore, we can know that this is obviously a class A IP. So I'll specify this as class A. Now, when you know that this is class A, you would specifically focus on this range here. So any IP starting with the octet 10, if the first octet is 10, it is always a private IP. Okay, any IP outside that range is a public IP. Okay, similarly, in class B as well, if the first octet is 172, and the second octet is between 16 and 31, then it is a private IP. So the remaining two octets can be anything from 0 to 255. And for class C, first octet needs to be 192, second octet needs to be 168, and third and fourth octets can be anything from 0 to 255. So if the IP is falling in those ranges, then it's a private IP. If it is outside those ranges, it's a public IP. Okay. So looking at the second IP now, we have 192.168.0.10. So looking at the first octet here, 192, we can figure out this is belonging to class C. Okay, we have 192 here. So this is, oh, sorry, got to write private here. Okay. So this is class C. Now looking at this range, we know if it is starting with 192 and 168, this is a private IP as well. Okay. Now you can give me the answers for the others, guys. 172, 100, 200, 100. Looking at this IP and these ranges, can you tell me which class it belongs to? Pendra, Stella,
Class
Raj,
B.
Sachin. Yes, this is class B. Correct. Public or private?
This is a private one.
Are you sure this is private, guys?
172, 100. No, 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 no.
Right. So 172 first octet is matching, but the second octet is 100, which
Right.
is outside the range of 16 and 31. So therefore, that is a public.
Public.
Right. Correct. Okay. Moving on. Next one. 56, 48, 93, 85.
Class A.
Class A. Perfect. Public or private?
Public.
Public.
Correct answer. Next one.
142. Class B.
Class B. Correct.
This is a public.
Perfect. Public answer. Next one. 223, 200,
The
12.6.
class C.
Class C. Correct.
Public.
Public. Correct. Next one.
Class A.
Yes.
This comes under 49. So obviously public.
Yes. This is also public. Next one.
192, 192.
C. Public.
Yeah.
Okay.
C
Got one
public.
answer as class B and
C.
one as class C.
C. Public.
Right. Class C and
Public.
public. Yeah. Going back.
Class
Next.
E.
245. Yes. Class E. Public or private?
Public.
Yes, because class E does not have any private IPs in it.
Class C.
Class C.
Public.
Right. Next one.
Class A. 11.
Okay.
Public.
Right. Next one.
72. Class B.
Okay.
Obviously public.
35. Public. Okay. Class
B. Sorry. 170. Right. Class B.
Class B.
Public.
Public. Correct. Next one.
72, 30. Class B.
Okay.
Public.
Are you sure?
172, 30. 172, 30. 172, 30. That is a private. Sorry.
Yes. It's private. Right. It's private. Next one.
1018, 1018, 10180. Yeah, class A, private.
Correct. Let's say one more IP. Yeah, two more.
Class C, private.
Yeah, and private. Right.
17,
And this is class B.
17.
Public or private?
It's 172.29 means that is a private.
Yes, this is a private. Right. Correct. So again, good job, guys. All are correct answers. But again, as mentioned, you would have to remember these ranges a bit, guys, in the upcoming session. Because when you look at an IP, you have to figure out whether it's public or private. Because from that, you can understand where the attack is initiating from. Okay. If it is a public IP, you can understand the attack is coming from an external network because public IPs are for the internet. If it's a private IP, if you notice a private IP in the log, and if you understand that is the IP initiating an issue, or an incident, then that would be a IP from your own network. So the attacker is on your same network. Okay. So understanding which IP is public, which IP is private is very crucial for that. Okay. Now, if you remember, I've shown you how to check the public or private IP in our scenario. So if I go to my browser, and in my browser, if I search for what is my IP, this shows me an address here, 49.204.239.128. If you notice, this is my public IP. Now, looking at this IP, can you tell me which class is it falling under, guys? 49.204.239.
Class A.
Yes, it is class A between 0 and 127. And is it a public IP? 0 to 127. And it is 49.204 something. Is this a public IP, guys?
Right.
It is a public IP. As you can see, it is falling outside the range between 10 and 10, right? Similarly, if I check my private IP on the other hand, I can just go to my command prompt and run the command ipconfig. Can I get my private IP here? If you notice something like 192.168.0.5. Now looking at this IP, can you tell me which class it belongs to? 192.168.0.5.
Class C.
Class C. And is it falling in the private IP range?
Yes.
Yes, it is. All right. So this is how you can categorize which IP is public and which IP is private. Okay. Now, again, these ranges were not random, guys. So those numbers 10, 172, 192, 160, they were not random. They were created with something called a parity bit. Okay, but again, that's a very in-depth concept to understand. We don't need to go that in depth, I would say. Okay, but again, these are fixed. So one thing you can be rest assured is these IPs or these ranges are fixed and they're constant. They will never change for the rest of their existence. Okay. So again, well, since they were created till today, these IP ranges have been fixed and they've never changed and they will never change. So you can remember or you can try to memorize these ranges. They are fixed. Okay, constant. Okay, moving on. Now, along with the IP address in our command prompt, if you notice, I see two other things. I see something called subnet mask and I see something called default gateway. So what are these? I'll talk about this in a bit because I'll explain what classes are first. Okay. So again, you might have had a question all the while. Why five separate classes? Why not just one single class with some public and with some private IPs in it? It would have made your job a lot easier, right? But again, not each network is same, guys. So we have requirements for different network sizes. And depending on that requirement of a different network size, we have each class here. Okay. So each class differs or has a unique number of network and host portions on it. Okay. So you talk about class A, it has one network portion and three host portions. Class B has two network portions and two host portions. Class C has three network portions and one host portion. Class D and Class E have four network portions each. Okay. So if you notice, each class has an increasing number of network portions down the line. Class A has one network portion, Class B has two network portions, Class C has three network portions. Class D and Class E have all network portions itself, no host portions in them. Okay. But what do I indicate by this? What do I want to define with network and host portions? So let's take the example of Class C first for that. Class C has three network portions and one host portion. Okay. So when we take the example of class C with 3 network portions and 1 host portion, the class C private IP starts at 192.168.0.0. If you all remember, I have written down the same range over here. Yes, so class C's private IP is from 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. Okay, and I've written down that same first IP over here, 192.168.0.0. Okay, and we all know now that class C has 3 network portions and 1 host portion. Okay, now what do I mean by that? So if we take the sequence of IPs now, if 00 is the first IP, next IP would be 01, next IP 02, next IP 03, next IP 04, next IP 05. So if this would go on 06, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, goes all the way up to 255. Okay. Now after 0255, what happens? The 255 cycles back to 0, and this next 0 changes to 1. We learned the sequence in the last class, right? Okay, that's important here, right? So after 10, you would have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which goes up to 1255. Then you have 20, right? So that sequence goes on. But when we talk about network and host portions here, so the first 3 octets over here, 192, 168, 0, belong to the network portions. Last octet here belongs to the host portion. So whenever there's a change in the host portion, guys, it just indicates a change in the host. So each unique host portion value is assigned to each unique host. Okay. So 0.1 could be my Wi-Fi router. 0.2 could be my smartphone. 0.3 could be my laptop. 0.4 could be my smartwatch. 0.5 could be my other laptop. So each unique host portion value is being assigned to each unique host. And all of these devices belong to the same network, the 192.168.0. network. So the network portion gives the identity for the entire network, and the host portion gives identity for each unique host in that network. Okay, so this is the 192.168.0.1 IP. So in the network of 192.168.0, this is the first IP. Okay, this is the second host. This is the third host. This is the fourth host. And as such, you can connect a maximum of 255 hosts. Okay, you cannot go more than that because after 0255, you have 10. Okay. And whenever there's a change in the network portion, so when the network portion here is changing from 0 to 1, the network divides over there. Okay, so this is the end of the network here. And from here begins a new network. From 1.0 to 1255, that's another network. From 20 to 2255, that's another network. From 30 to 3255, that's another network. Okay. And in each network here, you're able to communicate a maximum, or you're able to connect a maximum of 255 hosts. Okay. It's actually 256, but I'm ignoring the 0th IP. Okay. So as a round figure, I'm telling you that we can connect a maximum of 255 hosts in each class C network. So that is what is indicated by 3 network portions and 1 host portion. First 3 portions indicate the network portion, which gives you the identity for the entire network. Last portion indicates the host portion, which gives the identity for each unique host in that network, each unique device in that network connected. Okay. Is that clear for everyone? Raj, Venkat, Sachin, Upendra, Stella.
Yes, sir. Good.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Moving back, let's talk about the example of class B now. Class B has 2 network portions. So that's about class C, guys. So the unique property of class C is you can connect a maximum of only 255 devices, not more than that. Okay. But now when you come to class B, it has 2 network portions and 2 host portions. Okay. And the first private IP in class B starts at 172.16.0.0. Okay. So that's the class B private IP. So in the class B, as mentioned, you have 2 network portions and 2 host portions. So the first 2 portions, 172.16, are network portions. Last 2 portions are host portions. So same logic here as well. First IP 00, then 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06 goes up to 0255. After 0255, you have 10. But please note, the network doesn't divide over here because both the portions are host portions itself. So after 0255, you can easily communicate with 10 and they'll still belong to the same network. Okay, so then you have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which goes up to 1255. Then you have 2021, 222325, which goes up to 2255. Like that, the cycle keeps on repeating. And down the line, you would have 2550, 2551, 2552, 2553, 2554, which goes up to 255, 255. Now, once both these octets are filled, then 16 changes to 17. So these 255s go back to zeros, and the 16 changes to 17. Same exact logic. As long as the host portions are changing, it just indicates a change in the host. So this is the first host, the second host, the third host, the fourth host, the 255th host, and this is the 256th host, okay, 257th host, okay. Like that, you can connect a maximum of 255 into 255 hosts. Since there are two octets of host portions, you can connect 255 into 255, okay. So this is the first 255 devices, the second 255 devices, the third 255 devices. Okay. Like that, you have 255 octets. So actually it should be 255 into 256 because you're including the 0th octet as well. But as a round figure, let's call this 255 into 255. Okay. So when that 16 now changes to 17, the network divides over there. Okay. So from 1700 to 17255, that's another network. 1800 to 18255, another network. 1900 to 19255, another network. Okay. Like that, it goes on up to 3100 to 31255. That's the last private IP in class B. Okay. And in each network of class B, how many devices are we able to connect? 255 into 255 devices, which is a much larger number, something like 65,535. And finally, when we come to class A, so that's about class B. And finally, when we come to class A, it has one network portion and three host portions. So all the IPs from 10,000 up to 10,255, 255, 255 belong in one single network itself. And in this one single network, you're able to communicate a maximum of 255 into 255 into 255 IPs. Okay. And that is the largest of all. Okay. Practically in real world, you would never be able to communicate those many devices. But logically speaking, that's the purpose of class A. Okay. So class C can only connect 255 devices. That is used for small networks or home networks. Okay. So in our home networks, we usually use the class C IPs. Class B is for slightly larger networks. So it can connect a maximum of 255 into 255 devices, okay, which is like 65,535. So if your network is a bit larger than 255 devices, if you have a necessity to connect more than 200 or 300 devices, then you go for class C. Okay. And again, in such a scenario, you can use class A as well. Anything works. Okay. So that's the uniqueness of each class, guys. Okay. The uniqueness of each network and host portion in each class. Okay. Is that clear, everyone? What is class A? What is class B? What is class C? And where do we use which one? Does anyone want me to
Yes, sir.
explain it again by any chance?
Home network will comes under class C, and office network, entire network will comes under B.
B and A, I would say. You can also use class C in organizations or offices as well. It just
Okay.
depends on how many devices you're connecting. So if it's a
Okay.
small organization, or if it's a small network in your large organization, even there you can go for class C as well. Okay. This depends on how many devices you're connecting. If it's less than 255, you go for class C. If it's more than 255, you can go for class B or class A, anything. And that's the regular
Yeah, class
normal.
A, nothing but that is the cloud computing, right?
Sorry, come again.
Class A, it is comes under cloud computing, that is the AWS or GCP.
Nothing as such, Venkat. So you,
Mhm.
as mentioned, when you talk about private IPs, you can use anything anywhere. So you can use Class C and Class B also in your cloud networks. Okay, if it's a local private network. Okay, so you should not be fixed in that way that you're only going to go for Class A or Class B or Class C in private networks. It just depends on your network size. Okay, so
Okay.
a good important thumb rule would be if it's lesser than 255 devices, go for Class C. If
Okay.
it's more than 255 devices, you can go for class B or class A. That doesn't matter.
Okay. Thank you.
That's an important thing. Okay. Is that clear for everyone? Raj, Sachin, Venkat, Upendra, Stella. on the company, on the network size, exactly. Right. Okay. Now moving on. So we have also learned about, okay, so once we have learned about classes, now this becomes easier to understand what is subnet mask. Okay. So the subnet mask is basically for the computer or the information device to understand which IP belongs to which class. Okay. So it is calculated on the network and host portions itself. What the computer, now for us humans, it's very easy to understand which IP belongs to which class because we have network and host portions, alphabets N and H. But how does a computer understand that? Okay. What the computer does is it allocates network portions with the value 1 and the host portions with the value 0. Okay. So when you talk about class A, it has one network portion and three host portions. So what the computer would do is it would just add all ones in the network. Okay, so if you see the first portion is network in class A, so there's all ones. And the remaining three portions are host portions, so they're all zeros. And when you convert that from binary to decimal, you get 255000. Okay, so that would be the class A subnet mask. So when that subnet mask is assigned to a computer, it understands that, okay, I belong to class A and I can connect a maximum of 255 into 255 into 255 devices. For class B, you have two network portions and two host portions. So the subnet mask is 255 25500. And for class C with three network portions and one host portion, subnet mask is 255 255 2550. And that's the same thing you notice over here. I'm getting a class C IP 192.168.0.5. Therefore, the subnet mask is 255 255 2550. Same exact thing which I see here. Okay, so from that subnet mask, my computer understands, okay, so this IP belongs to class C, which means I can only communicate with a maximum of 255 devices. So it understands the range of IPs it can communicate with in its network and how many IPs it can communicate to. Okay, is that clear what subnet mask is, guys? It's only for the computer or the information device to understand which class it belongs to and what is the range of IPs in its own network. Okay. Now, when you talk about default gateway, that is basically a very fancy name given to your Wi-Fi router, okay? Because it acts as the gateway between two different networks. So if you remember this diagram from our earlier session, this one over here, if any of these devices wants to communicate with the internet, they always have to send the packet to the router. So this router is acting as a gateway between the private network and the public network. And this is the default device you have to send the data to when you want to communicate outside your network. Hence the name default gateway. And your default gateway usually gets the first IP in the network, 192.168.0.1. So default gateway is the IP of your router. Subnet mask is the information about which class your IP belongs to. So if you see 255, 255, 2550, it's class C. Okay. 255, 25500, that's class B. 255000, that's class A. Okay. So this is what the class subnet masks are respectively. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions up to this point? All right. So one last topic for today. Yeah. All 255 is a class D. Class D and class E have all 255 because all of them are network portions itself. Right, exactly. Okay. Moving on. After this, let's talk about the concept of assigning a private IP. So your system, guys, can get a private IP in two ways. One, you can assign it yourself manually from the control panel, or two, you can automatically get it from something called a DHCP server. Public IPs are assigned by the ISP, but private IPs are in our control. They are belonging to our local network. They are in our control. So you can assign it in these two possible ways. One, you can assign it yourself manually from the control panel, or two, you can get it automatically from a DHCP server. Let me show you the manual method today, and tomorrow we go with the DHCP method as well. Okay. So to get it assigned manually, you first go to your control panel. In the control panel, you go to network and internet. In network and internet, you go to network and sharing center. In that, you go to change adapter settings. You right click on the adapter and then you go to the properties and assign a IP address there. So that is the entire, uh, I would say, the procedure, step-by-step procedure of assigning a private IP yourself. So if I show you this practically, go to control panel. In the control panel, go to network and internet. In network and internet, go to network and sharing center. In Network and Sharing Center, go to Change Adapter Settings. Now this shows all the adapters available on your device, and whichever adapter you want to assign the private IP for, right click on that adapter, go to the properties, and in the properties, select IPv4, Internet Protocol version 4, click on properties again, and here you can see there are two methods. Right now, I'm getting the IP automatically from a DHCP server, but if I had to assign it manually, I'll select the second option for that. Okay. And right. So you assign a static IP here, and you can assign the IP something like 192.168.0.100. And now since this is class C, the subnet mask would be 255.255.255.0. Default gateway is your router's IP, and you all know router gets the first IP 192.168.0.1. Okay. Now, along with these three important pieces of information, you also have to assign something called a DNS server address. Now, don't worry what a DNS server is. I'll explain about that later. But just in case, if you don't know what to assign here, you can just go to your browser. And in the browser, you can search for Google DNS server IP. And this will provide you two IP addresses. One is 8.8.8.8 and the other one is 8.8.4.4. And you can assign it. No, it's to resolve an IP to a domain name. But yeah, I'll elaborate on that in the next session. Sure. Right. Coming back to this. So as mentioned, so just in case if you don't know what to assign over here, you would specify 8.8.8.8, or you can also give 8.8.4.4. Even if you specify one of them, that is also sufficient. Okay. So now if I click on OK, that IP will be assigned to my system. But I won't do that, guys, because right now we are connected. So if I change my IP, we would lose our communication channel right now. Okay, so but again, this is the procedure to assign a manual IP to any system in the network. Okay, so in the olden days, if you were the network administrator and if you had the job of assigning a static IP to each system, you would have to go to each device in the network and assign a unique IP this way. It was your responsibility or as a network admin to give a static IP this way. If it's a small network, that's fine. If it's like 100 IPs or so, it's fine. But if it's more than that, if it's a class B network or class A network with 65,000 devices or so, then it becomes a very hectic task. So that's why we have an easier alternative called obtain an IP automatically from a DHCP server. Okay. So we'll talk about that DHCP thing in the next class. Okay. But if you have to assign it manually, this is the procedure to do so. Okay. Control panel, network and internet, network and sharing center, adapter settings. Right click on the adapter, go to the properties and assign the following IP. Okay, in the exact same way which I've shown you. Okay, if you want to go for the DHCP method, there's a different technique for it. We'll talk about what DHCP is and what the procedure for it is in the next class. Okay, so yeah, that's that for today's class, guys. Nothing further. Hi, Mohammed Intizar. I think you've joined the session for the first time today.
Yes, sir. I just inquired last night, so I
Achha.
got the link of this meeting.
Okay, okay. Don't worry, Mohammed. 1 second, I'll come. I'll be getting back to you once. So
Okay.
yeah, that's it, Upendra. Still nothing further for our session today, guys. We can disconnect here and connect back tomorrow at the same time. Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Good day. Yeah. In this are again, as mentioned, no, nothing to worry. All of these sessions are being recorded and they're being uploaded on YouTube. So these are the demo sessions actually. So the first few classes are demos. So again, you can access the older demos on YouTube. If you just search for DurgaSoft cybersecurity, filter them out with that, you can get those recordings for the earlier sessions. So what we are covering right now is basic networking fundamentals, one of the prerequisites for cybersecurity. Okay. So once this is done, we dive into the cybersecurity concepts as well. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, you can join the demo tomorrow as well. I think tomorrow would be tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow would be the last demo. And from Monday, we have the registered classes. Okay. So tomorrow
Okay.
we dive into these advanced networking concepts and I'll explain the lab setup installation. So that can act as a demo for you as well. And yeah, if you like the class, you can register and join the regular batch from Monday at the same time, 7 a.m.
Okay. Okay, sir. I want to inquire something. Actually, I'm not of this domain.
Right.
Uh, I'm presently working as a maths faculty.
Okay.
But I decided to change my domain.
Okay. No problem.
So I was interested in cybersecurity from last few years, but I could not pursue any course. So right now, I think is the right time because I've resigned from a job.
Okay. That shouldn't be a problem in this. So again, the change in domain would not be a problem at all. But again, depends on how many years you have been in your previous domain, though. Because if you're recently, again, if it's just been a recent change, that shouldn't be a problem. It would be still regarded as a fresher. You wouldn't be losing many years. But if it's been a slightly longer time, more than 5 years or so, I would recommend going much more in depth in cybersecurity rather than just with a fresher level. So learn the first course, Certified Ethical Hacking. This is the fundamental course to get into the world of cybersecurity. And after that, I would recommend doing some advanced courses as well, so that you can cover up for the years that you have covered in your previous domain. Okay, so that you can show up a fake of multiple years at least. Okay. So that would be my suggestion, my insight.
The main thing is to ask you that will I not face any problem or in learning or any such obstacle? Uh,
No, nothing as such. But if you're familiar with, again, running a Windows operating system, that should be sufficient because everything will be shown from scratch. I'll be explaining everything in detail. So this would be easy as even if you're just a 10th standard student, you would still understand all the concepts, okay, without any prior knowledge on cybersecurity or computer networking. So again, as mentioned, that should not be a problem. The shift or again, the learning process wouldn't be a problem at all. The
uh,
only thing is, as mentioned, again, you would have a requirement for a device to perform these practicals on. So you would need a Windows laptop with some good amount of space left in it and some good amount of RAM memory, at least 8 GB of RAM or so.
I'll manage that.
Yeah.
Uh, and one thing, the language Python or Java, any language is required in
No,
this.
for this course, no requirement of any programming languages. So this cybersecurity course is basically on multiple tools that we use. So there's tools for performing various sorts of operations, for scanning, for vulnerability assessment, for penetration testing. So you have different tools to use. So we'll be learning how to run those tools. No requirement of any programming language. So that's one good thing about cybersecurity, at least in the beginning or in the early stages. You have no requirement for programming. Okay.
Okay.
As you progress, if you're going into any domain like malware development, malware analysis, understanding how these applications are working in the background, for that you have requirement of programming. But again, understanding how to attack a system or understanding how to prevent those attacks, for that there is not much requirement of programming, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Uh, Further details for this registration and all will be shared by whom?
I think it's already shared in the chat box. If not, you can directly contact DurgaSoft, the Institute DurgaSoft in this.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Fine.
Right.
So
That's it.
tomorrow same
So
time, 7 a.m.
yeah, same time, 7 a.m. tomorrow in the morning as well.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Intizar. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.